Hello, good evening, welcome to UPfront. This evening, we bring you a very interesting conversation. As you know, this month, the very important special assignment on the major theme, Crimes That Shook the Nation, which is focusing in some part in the first series on who killed the judges in 1982 and the aftermath of that particular incident. We'll also be looking at the scars of the revolution. Today, we bring you one man who was a victim of a very interesting incident, which is interesting. He's not gotten the kind of publicity that's required. Do you really know what happened on June 19, 1982? We'll tell you more about that and have your reflections of that particular period after this break. Welcome back. This is UPfront. My name is Raymond Aqua. Today, as I did tell you, my guest is Explode and Kofi, from students leadership to leadership of the PNDC in some part of the Volta region. He later on became an enemy. Yes, he became an enemy of the PNDC along the line. Today we get to hear his reflections. He became a victim, stayed in jail for months, and had to leave the country for almost 3 decades. He will tell us more about this and other things related to that period. We also have an interesting conversation on what's happening to him now and whether he's recovered from those moments and the rather tragic moments that we had back then. Focusing more importantly on the events surrounding June 19, 1983. If you were not born, this is a very wonderful opportunity to learn. And if you were, you sure would have reflections from a man who saw it all. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
I hope you're doing well.
It's a privilege to be here.
Yes.
I'm doing very well.
I mean, you still prefer staying in Peking and not in the capital of the country. I cannot fathom why.
Oh, I've always been a grassroots activist. And I also think that changes come from bottom up, not top down.
Okay.
And that is why I'm rooted in a constituency among the ordinary people where I come from.
I get your point. Now, for those who did not know you and have not been there before, and they didn't understand the happenings in 82, 83, and all the areas within that particular range, who is Explode and Kofi?
Oh, Explode and Kofi is a social justice practitioner, an activist who is committed to the cause of ending or reducing the oppression of people who thinks that another world is possible, another world in which the greedy and the oppressors don't control is possible, and has committed his whole life to contributing towards that change.
Let's start from your engagements with the PNDC. How did you become a part of it?
Oh, how did I become a part of the PNDC? Actually, I had nothing to do with the coup. I have to stress that.
31st December.
31st December coup. But before 31st December, there was a growing movement of radical youth. This movement had grown since the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah, where youth were committed to advancing the cause and building on what Nkrumah had started before the CIA influence overthrow in the country. So being part of this group, when I was in school, it started from secondary school. Right from secondary school, we started preparing ourselves on how to contribute towards change. In fact, mock parliament in my school, Morley School, where I attended, was the opportunity for us to build parties around some of the things we believe. In fact, I led a group called the Morley Revolutionary Movement, Maremo.
Even in what they call it?
Yes, in Lower 6,
okay.
During mock parliament. And my colleague, Kwesi Agle, whose name may refer to a lot, a good friend, well, I think he led the Morley Socialist Alliance. We had Maremo, had this slogan, chant Maremo, and they were Maswa Avanti. So right from secondary school, we were preparing ourselves. Apart from that, I was in an organization called the Student Movement for African Unity. This organization, I was the president of the Student Movement for African Unity in Morley School. So when I entered the university, I looked for the Student Movement for African Unity, and I came across the Pan-African Youth Movement. In fact, it was there that I built a friendship with the present majority leader, who had also come from St. Peter's as the president of Student Movement for African Unity in St. Peter's School, and we were mates in tech. Later we became He became hall president. I was the hall secretary.
I see.
And actually, his campaign manager, whilst I was still contesting for the secretary.
For your own secretary. It was interesting then.
Yes, interesting times. And the first time ever I appeared in a studio was together with him.
Oh, I see.
When there was a program, a GBC program, Leaders of the Future. Yes. Yeah, Leaders Tomorrow.
I see.
So we have been preparing ourselves since then. So I was involved in the progressive movement in Ghana then. And when I entered university, the leader of the study groups in KNUST was Chris Bukari Atim. Chris Bukari Atim became a member. Yes, Chris Atim. He became a member of the PNDC and actually the national coordinator of the defense committees. So we had worked together. I worked closely with him. And so when he became the national coordinator, he got me appointed as the regional coordinator. That is how I became part of the PNDC.
And this was after the 81 coup d'etat?
Yes, this was when the PNDC had come.
Okay, let me get this understanding.
But before
clearly.
the PNDC,
yes.
I was the first national vice president of the National Union of Ghana Students.
Okay.
So you know the National Union of Ghana Students got involved in the Student and Youth Task Force.
Yes.
So as the second in command in the student movement in the whole country, I was actively involved with the Student Task Force before my appointment in April 1982 as a regional coordinator of the People's Defense Committees.
What was the People's Defense Committee's responsibility, really?
The People's Defense Committee, the main point about which I think many people lost, including maybe people involved with some people associated with the PNDC, it was supposed to be a structure which will enable ordinary people to contribute towards decision-making, to be part of the decision-making process. That was the primary role. But I don't think that some of the people associated with the regime identified this as its main role. Some of them thought that it should just be foot soldiers for supporting the military junta. And this misunderstanding or this different understanding about where the emphasis was to be with the Defense Committee was one of the number of reasons which led to the split in the PNDC and the other events up to June 19th.
I get that point clear cut. So, I mean, the perception that these were movements which were into terrorizing people, aiding the military, identify people who were opposition or enemies of the revolution and all of that, that's not true?
That is not what its role was supposed to be.
But did they do that?
That was the misunderstanding of some other people. And even that was one of the points of division in the PNDC. Because while some of us were more about ideological orientation of these committees, others thought that they should just be running around doing jobs for the soldiers. So that's not what the defense committee, the whole idea of defense committees didn't arise just with the 31st December. In fact, the history of defense committees in Ghana goes back to Nkrumah's overthrow, when Nkrumah formed the socialist committees for the defense of the revolution.
Okay.
And so a lot of people do not even know the background, how it gradually evolved, then the influence from committees in Cuba, committees in Libya, and so it was not a group of foot soldiers to be running around for soldiers.
Okay, it's interesting how it turned out eventually, but let me narrow it down to your very person.
Yes.
You became virtually the man in charge of that group in the Volta region.
Yes.
And what were the things that you were expected to do in the region, which probably you failed to do?
Which probably I failed to do. I don't know what I was supposed to do that I failed to do, but I know that the defense committees were supposed to be organs to help ordinary people participate in decision making. The fact is that soldiers come to the region from time to time, like people like Jack Bebley and co.
Okay.
They come to time and lead groups to go and do things which they do not seek the permission of the coordinating secretariat. Or people like Matthias Cujo, I hear he's now dead. Or he formed some group, People's Friend. He goes into towns, hold rallies, get defense committees involved, and those things were not part of what defense committees were to do. And it's also, and that's the reason why we're in conflict with some of these characters because they didn't even understand what the defense committees were about.
Okay, so because of the conflict, and now run us through the activities that led to you having problems with the chairman of the PNDC then.
You see, it's not a personal problem between me and the chairman of the PNDC and myself. It was actually a division in the PNDC as a whole. And first, as I tried to point out, before 31st December, organizations have been growing. In fact, by the time 31st December, there are groups like the New Democratic Movement, African Youth Command, Movement on National Affairs, African Youth League, People's Revolutionary League of Ghana, New Democratic Movement, Pan-African Youth Movement, and others, which have all come up, which had a certain consensus, that the situation in Ghana, the economy and the politics, could not advance just by tinkering with the system, but that we needed a radical change, that we need a change in which our economy is not determined by or politics is not dominated by external forces, the same colonial forces which colonize us, and they are multinationals. No, that there should be reorganization of production relations. There should be a way in which the class nature of the control of the state is looked at, and then there must be structures which would help for ordinary people to be involved in decision making, and that's what brings the defense committees. And then policy, should reflect the interests of majority of our people and also contribute to their material well-being of the majority of our people. This is what informally brought these groups together.
But what shocks me is that, this is what many of us thought the former chairman of the PNDC stood for, and that this is what really was the driving force for he getting into running the affairs of the state.
The fact is that even among these groups, there was a division. There was the Movement on National Affairs, led by Kweku Baako & Co, who warned us before 31st, that because of the anti-Nkrumah statements that Rawlings was constantly making, the latest was even on June 5th, 1981, the same year that the coup was staged, when at the Accra Community Center, Rawlings declared that when Nkrumah was destroying this country, the hero of all ages, Kotoka, who is his hero, overthrew Nkrumah to liberate the people of Ghana. And people like Kweku Baako felt that because of that, Rawlings could clearly not be on the same side as us ideologically. There were other people who had the position that Rawlings was not properly informed and that they could assist him by giving him books to read and tutoring him so that he could grow into a Castro. So these were the two.
Fidel Castro.
I've heard people making that statement, Rawlings a Castro in the making. And then, so after 31st, in less than a year, I think Kweku Baako & Co were proved correct. That since Rawlings was making these kind of statements, Fly Officer Bequin, he wrote an article where he referred to Rawlings as a counter-revolution on an ego trip. And so, obviously, time has proved wherever Rawlings stands. Even those who were still doubting some time ago, day in, day out, when things like the Abacha money and things come up, people know where he stands today.
Okay, but that's interesting to note. Yet, you are given a position in the PNDC. I just want to know, at what point in time did you lose that position and you were taken into some form of custody?
Oh, I didn't lose the position. I still held the position when I was arrested. First, the fact that, as I said, there was a split in the PNDC itself. From the facts that we have now, the original PNDC died on 28th October 1982.
The original PNDC?
The original PNDC died.
What happened on that day?
According to the PNDC secretary, Dr. Emmanuel Hansen, who has written a book, Ghana and the Rawlings Early Years. Mm-hmm. There was a meeting that day, the last meeting that all the members attended together. There was a meeting, and that Chris Atim and Akatapori raised issues on a number of things. One, we will see some in Chris Atin's resignation letter. First, this whole thing about the direction of policy, this whole thing about accountability, this whole thing about Rawlings not consulting the council, but acting without consulting them, and the defense committees, they're performing their proper role, the issue of the IMF and the World Bank coming in. And he said at that meeting, Rawlings ended up saying that they could not continue through talking. So it seems two factions came up, and it reflected in the barracks that the soldiers, even in the Gondar barracks, were now divided between the pro-Chris Atim Aloga front and pro-Rawlings front.
And it's Aloga Akatapori.
Aloga Akatapori. And the first that I was in an unfortunate situation. I learned the lessons of how politics can be ethnicized.
Oh, okay.
Because I was seen as a Chris Atim man being in charge of Volta region. And when I was taken to the one brigade commander, he told me, he said, because of you, we cannot control our own region. So I was an obstacle to controlling their own region. But I'm also a Voltarian. Both my father and mother comes from Volta region, and I was born in Volta region. So I don't know how I was an obstacle, since I also have a stake in that region. I'm not a foreigner in that region. I'm not a half Voltarian even. So I couldn't even really understand. There are problems that we differ ideologically. But the fact is that there are many people in Volta region who hold the same ideological position as me. And Chris Atim did also write in Journal of African Masses one time that in terms of the class conflicts of the period, they were sharpest in Volta region, where cadets were singled out for attack. That when I was arrested here, I'm being mentioned as one. But that's not what happened. When they dissolved, after the conflict in the council, when they dissolved the National Secretariat and the Greater Accra Secretariat, my secretariat was the only one outside Accra to be dissolved. Maybe for the region to be properly controlled. And other people were arrested with me. Or the two military cadets or military members of the secretariat who didn't decide to come there by themselves, but they were seconded by the barracks. They themselves seconded them there. Both of them were detained. My deputy, Lucas Kumi, was also detained. And later, when we were detained, they continued bringing more people. They went and they dissolved the Ketu District Secretariat. They detained the coordinator. They detained about 3 other people from there. 2 people had to flee into exile. And also, when it comes to, there are people who have been saying that Volta benefited from all these tortures and all. But members of my secretariat were killed. I don't know how many people from other secretariats were killed. Kwame Ajima from my secretariat was killed. Timothy Yazomelo, who would have been the head of the militia from my secretariat, was also murdered by these forces which were committing extrajudicial murder all over the place.
I see.
In the case of Timothy Yazomelo, it was alleged that he had committed suicide. It is only during discussions on Facebook that one junior, I've got 3, pointed out that they live close to the Klepe Hills where the body was found. Now they heard gunshots in the night before the supposed suicide committer was found in the morning.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So terrible things happened in the Volta region.
But this was Rawlings' own region, to be clear.
To the people who were creating obstacle for his puppet control of the region. And those people are also from the region.
And they were of the opinion that he did not even at that time control the region, so he needed to have a firm grip on that.
Maybe, because since 31st December, coup, from the time I became the regional coordinator until I was arrested and detained, Rawlings never appeared in the region to address a rally.
Not once.
Not once. Well, during the whole period, I was a coordinator.
Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. I wish he was in the studio here to explain. I wish he was in the studio here to explain whether he was afraid of that obstacle which had to be removed before he would come there.
And which obstacle was that? You?
I was told by the commander, Brigadier General David L.K. Kluche. I hope he's watching the program. He told me that I was the main obstacle to their control of the region. That because of me, they cannot control their region. But it's my region too.
Did you do anything directly to hamper the PNDC's control and effective regulation of a region that was very critical to the government?
Everybody in the region thought that I was maybe the revolution. And which is even the reason why I've survived. Because when I was escaped on June 19, the soldiers who were supposed to be arresting me were the ones helping me to escape. Because they were convinced that it was Rollins who was in the wrong, not me.
Okay.
So,
we'll run up on this conversation, this part of it more importantly.
Yeah.
You have been an activist all your life. You were part of all of this process with the hope that we have a state that's socialist?
Oh, I stand for social. I'm a socialist and a Pan-Africanist. And I know that the future is for socialism. Why? You see...
No, we'll come and talk ideology. But I was asking whether you're of the opinion that the leader of the PNDC was not of the same opinion with you.
I learned that through practice.
I see. So...
I naively went into it. But as I said, Kweku Baku and Co.
Had warned you ahead of time.
Adinla Brown, Nata Ivo, Yadulabi, Stanley Amato, all these people had warned us. The group called the Movement on National Affairs, MONAS. They had written long articles, especially when Rollins declared Kotoka the hero and Nkrumah the person who rather was an obstacle. You know, Rollins had even said, it's on, you can check. Many people don't watch all these films and things and listen properly. He said that the greatest explosion of joy he has ever seen in his life is the joy that greeted the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah.
I see.
Oh, you haven't come across that?
I've not heard it before.
Try YouTube.
I see. But let me get this also
I even shared it on Facebook.
Let me also get this clarified.
Yes.
So there were ideological differences between some of you who were in charge of certain important segments of the PNDC. And that is why you had to be removed. How was yours done?
How was mine done? Oh, very fun. You see, on 7th December 1982, I was there. I came to office. I normally walk down the road from the residency to the office, and usually when I'm coming down, there are crowds of workers all over the place. Then a helicopter came. And you know, I saw you interview Kwesi Edu last time, because there's a whole thing about helicopter. Because when we were in Yebo's house, which you interviewed Kwesi about, a helicopter came. So when this helicopter came, and I'd come back from Accra with that experience. So when the helicopter came, the workers flooded there and went to ask the people in the helicopter what they were coming to do. And they were bringing the military academy, training school results, something like that. Okay. Because since I've had that experience, the workers were alert to see whether something was going to happen to me or whatever. The helicopter later left. After the helicopter left, I was invited by the commanding officer of the Medium Mortar Regiment, Lieutenant Colonel Lamte, to his office for a meeting. I naively went there on my own, civilian without any arms. I naively went there. I might not say that I'm naive because, one, I was a member of the Regional Security Council, and he's also a member of the Regional Security Council. So I just saw my colleague, member of Regional Security Council, inviting me for a meeting. But when I went there, I sat normally like I always sit in his office. Then they started shouting with some soldiers marching, interview, Shan. Oh, what's this?
Sorry, what does that mean?
I don't know. I'm just saying what I heard. Interview, Shan. Then they were marching. They came attention. So that was the Armed Forces Defense Committee members. So I thought they were in trouble, and I was being brought to come and listen to their problem. I was rather told that they were going to give me a message. They want them to be witnesses to my message.
I see. The military should listen to your message.
Yeah, the defense committee members of the barracks. Yes. So It said that the armed forces commander had said that I should be brought to Accra immediately. So I said, one, I'm not a soldier. In fact, I'm not a soldier. I'm not under the armed forces commander. I'm a civilian. Second, I was also an official. So this is not normal. They told me to shut up. When I get to the army headquarters, I'll know what is happening. So I call it a kidnap. So they have arms, they have guns. I've entered into their barracks. They surrounded me, took me, armed guard, to Accra.
So that's how you were picked up?
That is how I was kidnapped.
Did they kidnapped, as you put it? Did they tell you why you were being taken away?
They didn't. They told me I should shut up. When I get to the army, I'll find out.
Do they give reasons to people before picking them up in those times?
Do they give reasons to people before picking? That's the only time they pick me up. So I don't know what they were telling other people.
So I'm asking this because the right process is that even if you're arresting me, I'm told my crime in a language I understand, and all of the formalities that the human rights procedure requires.
That's what I was trying to say, and they told me to shut up.
Oh, okay. So did they take you in this particular, how did they take you to Accra?
I'm guarded by car.
Oh, okay, by car.
Yes.
Where were you brought to in
thank
Accra?
God maybe I didn't go by that helicopter because there are rumors that people have been dropped in the seas.
Oh, I see. Okay, so let me get this clear. Where were you brought to in Accra?
I was brought to the 1 Brigade headquarters.
And the understanding was that you were supposed to have an engagement with who?
Oh, when I was brought there, I was brought before 1 Brigade, the brigade commander. Who I hope he's listening to the program. Brigadier Kluche, he was then Colonel Kluche, DLK Kluche. I was brought before him. Okay. And he phoned, I don't know whether he phoned or he acted he was phoning because I don't trust these people. He supposedly phoned Kwenu, his boss, who was the army commander. And said,
Lieutenant General Kwenu.
Yes. And he said, the Volta region coordinator of the PDC, he's in my office. I have him in my office. He was shouting with joy that he had me in his office. And it was then, he said, what will the students call you? I said, oh. He said, what's your name? So I said, Kofi Nani. He said, no, call that name, call that name, call that name. Wouldn't you call yourself explosive now? Later, he handed me over the soldiers. I got a few slaps and kicks. And they told me that I'm lucky that the 1 Brigade headquarters doesn't have a guard room. Otherwise, I will not be alive anymore.
Okay, give me a second. I'll take a break. When we come back from this particular break, we'll continue from the point where you were being taken into a man. And your name again, the exploit is explosive. I never understood that. Okay, so we'll take it up from the point where you were being beaten and you were being threatened that there was no guard room or else you'd have been killed in that particular place and continue from that particular point after this break. You welcome back to our front. My name is Raymond Aqua. My guest today is Explo Nanikofi. He actually has done so many things in the revolutionary period. He was with the PNDC, fell out with the PNDC, became a victim of it along the line. Now, we're talking about the peculiar story which will put into proper perspective the entire period of 1982-83 and the predominant sections of the early years of the PNDC, properly put there. Now, he first and foremost gave me a chronology of what happened, his engagement, and how come in the last minutes before we took this break, he had to be taken, as he called it, virtually abducted and brought from the Volta region to Accra.
Almost like the judges.
Well, that's interesting to know. But brought to Accra and threatened. So you say that the commander threatened that, but for the lack of guard rooms, you surely wouldn't have been alive.
Yes, he repeated by the soldiers there. And so they brought me to field engineer's guard room after all the beatings. And I will tell you that some of the soldiers who beat me that day, by the time of the jailbreak, they had all regretted.
I see.
Because the length of period I was there, first they had the impression that we were coup suspects.
I see.
But I was in the guard room and all the coups were tried. I wasn't a witness or accused, even in any of the coups. And I was still The coups have been tried, and I was still in the guard room.
I see.
So it didn't make sense to they themselves.
As of the time that you were put in the guard room then, were you still being told why you had to be abducted and brought to Accra?
Oh, the time I wasn't told directly. But I think 3 or 4 days after I was taken to the guard room, the PNDC officially dissolved the National Secretariat for the Defense Committees, the Greater Accra Regional Secretariat, and the Volta Regional Secretariat. And in that statement, stated that they have been infiltrated by counter-revolutionaries who were linked up with coup d'etat to overthrow the regime.
Okay, so you were the counter-revolutionary.
It implies.
Enemy of the revolution applied.
It implies, if they know what a revolution is.
Well, it's interesting, but all of these happened when you were still in the guard room.
Yes, this happened when I was still in the guard room.
How long did you stay in this guard room?
I was in the guard room for about 6 months before I liberated myself together with others.
Okay, now let's understand. How was the guard room like?
Oh, the guard room, it's a cold place. We sleep on the floor. The toilet is also there with us. We eat beside the toilet and all that. And
So
we
you had
didn't
a
have
lavatory.
beds.
You didn't have beds. You were sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
And you had to use the same lavatory and eat by the lavatory.
Yes, yes.
That must be very hard.
You see, actually, I don't like saying that I was a victim. Because I made a choice in my life to be involved in struggle.
I see.
I didn't fall into this thing by accident. I made it a choice. And I knew that in class society, where there's class conflict, those who are taking the side for change can die or anything. So these things didn't surprise me. In fact, I've actually always tried to explain to people that whenever I refer to these things, it's not out of bitterness. But I think that those experiences have rather helped shape me further and have shaped my present
I get you.
political character.
I want to understand these experiences better. So you had to live in that condition.
Yes.
With many others?
Oh, many others.
How many were you?
Oh, sometimes it could be 20. They'll go and bring petty criminals and all manner of people. They
put in the same room as you guys?
Put in the same room as we, the political counter-revolutionaries. Yes.
And the idea was that you'll be there, and how about treatment? How did they treat you?
Oh, I told you, they were beaten. Sometimes they'll just come and say that, oh, they've heard us making noise, and they'll take us to their private gardens to go and do labor work in their private gardens. These soldiers will take us to their private gardens for us to go and do labor work.
Was there a reason why they were beating you guys?
The reason why they were beating us guys to knock sense into our skulls.
Was this intense beating or just a couple of slaps here and there?
Oh, it varies from person to person.
You specifically?
Oh, I didn't have the tougher side. I did have a couple of slaps and kicks and some drilling sometimes. And
how was the drilling like?
For me, it was it was difficult.
No, I wanted to know, I mean, what exactly was the drilling? What did it entail?
Oh, sometimes you can be made to lie down and raise your hand and raise your leg and other way on the tar road.
Tar road?
Yeah, quota outside, yes, quota outside, I've done it. Quota outside, lie down, raise your leg so that they knock sense into your head. And there was one time I was it's very funny. A senior of mine, Chome Hayford, he was a officer there. So I just asked that I want to see him. Because even when I was there, the adjutant of Ghana Barracks, who is the head of administration of the military headquarters of the regime, was my senior, Victor Bache, Captain Victor Bache. He came there to visit me. When he came to visit, people were shocked. They said, if this man is your friend and he cannot release you, then nobody can release you.
I see.
Because this is a man who is a head of administration in Gonda Barracks, the headquarters of the regime. The military headquarters of the regime. The head of administration comes, marches there, he makes the soldiers to open the door, They salute him and so he just wants to see his friend Explonani Kofi.
And all of that did not get you freedom.
Ah, but they said it themselves that if this man can march here and salute and he cannot fight for your release, then these days we've been talking, he told me that some of us were naive young people and that those Rollins and the soldiers, they knew what they wanted in life.
Okay.
And so we thought that there was going to be some revolution or some transformation.
Yet that did not happen.
Ah, Kweku Baku proved correct. He won us.
I will get back to that particular point, but I still want to stay with your experience in the 6 months.
Yes.
So you were beaten,
yes.
sometimes drilled,
yes.
taken through all of those painful
doing
experiences.
labor job in their gardens.
And doing labor job in their gardens. Was this daily or once in a while?
Oh, it wasn't daily. It wasn't daily. It wasn't daily. It was once in a while.
Which kind of food were they giving you?
Oh, they gave us the same food which they serve in the cookhouse.
I see.
So I cannot complain.
Was it good enough?
The other rank soldiers were eating it, not the officers. The other rank soldiers were eating, so we also ate it.
Okay, so let me understand this part too. Was it 3 times a day?
Oh, yes.
You were given 3 times a day?
Yes, we were given
now, in the guard room, you said you had the lavatory there.
Yes.
Was there a urinal point, or you're still using the lavatory for both?
We were using for both, yes.
And the 20 people had to use the same lavatory?
Yes, yes. And the bathroom and the lavatory, they were all there. So that's the same place you urinate, that's the place you ease yourself.
And you eat there?
And we eat there, yes, we eat there.
With the stench, or there wasn't any stench?
About lavatory, there was no any serious giving of disinfectants and things for us to clean. So there was it.
There was a stench there.
Yeah, yeah.
Did it affect the health of you, the inmates there?
We frequently went to the hospital, so it could be.
So it could be one of the reasons why you know. So for 6 months, did you ever have the hope that you leave the place?
Did I have the hope that I'll leave the place? When I first went, I didn't think that I was going to last there because, you see, these things normally happen. They arrest some of the cadres, they send them after a period of time, they are released. So I thought I was going to be released early. That this thing. Even at first, I thought that, in fact, I wasn't aware. Because I went into the detention, I wasn't aware that even Chris Atim had resigned and had left the country. And when I got to know that, now it's Rollins, one man who was the counsel, and also things were a bit dangerous. But I still always thought that I was going to be released because a number of people were released.
Okay, within the period.
My deputy, Lucas Kumi, he was released. One of the soldiers, Prince Lomote, he was also released. And the people who were brought from Ketu district, who were brought there, that they were posting our arrest, they were all released. I think maybe I was going to be released because the brigade commander made efforts for me to be transferred to the prisons.
I see.
And he even told people that I was going to be transferred to the prisons. In fact, the soldiers even proved to him that I was so popular because we one day came back from home where they had their deba. He came to warn me that I should stop saying that he has arrested me and that it's Rollins who I was working with who doesn't want to see me again. He just took instructions and then he went to a deba and the soldier had shouted at him at the deba that he should go and release that man he has locked up in Ho when he had locked up in Accra when he had not locked up anybody, but he just took instruction. Later I found out it was one bombardier Novi Megbe who exercised that bravery in confronting him at the deba that he should go and bring me down. He should go and release me.
I see.
And so...
But that did not work.
Oh, it didn't work. But all what I'm telling you, it worked in a way that I'm alive.
Okay.
That the people who were supposed to arresting me, the defense committee cadres and all that, helped me to escape. So in that way it worked. If the same people who arrested some people and they were killed were the same people who let me run because of how they saw me.
Let me get to this point. So let's fast forward after the 6 months or so to June 19th.
Yes.
How did they start?
Oh, June 19th, As Adumaku Nyamiche, one of the jailbreakers from Never Bed, has said on TV, there was news that we were all going to be killed en masse. Those of us who were in the government, they were not able to transfer us into prison. And from Adumaku Nyamiche, even that came from one of Rawlings' own bodyguards from the custom. So that was one problem. The other thing was that because it was a split in the PNDC regime, which led to the arrest, when they were arresting us, some of the people who were to be arrested all escaped and left the country and were in their freedom in exile in Togo. So they were constantly in touch with those of us who were in detention. And since there was any sign that we will be released, in fact, I'm told that there was one time Kojo Chikata went to Ashaford or Jamesford and told and asked Matthew Adabuga whether he knows that he is the one who has detained him. And I understand Matthew told him that even if he has detained him, that doesn't mean that he is the one going to release him.
I see.
I don't know whether Kojo Chikata understood it. Meaning that Adabuga will release himself, not Kojo Chikata releasing him.
Okay.
So those who were in Togo, they organized, came down. I'm told that 6 of them got to Accra. I'm told Umar Farouk, Baba Kankani, Nso, Malik, Tanti, Ochri. What course is?
Yeah, and these are, to be clear, these are military men who left the country.
Who left the country, who were associated with the PNDC.
Yes.
Who left the country.
Who left the country, went to Togo, went to mass up and returned.
Yeah, and
with the motive that they were coming to release you people.
Yes, and sneak into the country. So they got first to Ashaford and Jamesford, where they released the people.
Did they fight their way? Were they using gunpowder?
They used gunpowder. They used infiltration into the prison services as well. And they used many methods. Okay. And you know that a lot of prison officers were dismissed. I'm told some were killed. I don't have details. So they used infiltration of the prisons. In fact, sources close to Atuosin, who was still in the regime, even tell us that they managed to infiltrate the castle and immobilize the Mowaks in the castle itself. What are Mowaks? Mowaks. Amokas. Amokas, okay, yes. I see. Yes, they immobilized them. They managed to get to the broadcasting because once they released those people from the prisons, the number was increased and they have fighting capacity. They were seizing guns. In fact, I saw the cowardice of soldiers during the June 19th, because when I was running across the beach, I saw some of the military men also running. Okay, let me come to this point. Yes. Now, they were going from prison to prison, yes. Breaking these prisons and releasing the people. Yes. In your case, how did it happen? Since you were in the guard room, on the military barracks? Oh, I was in the military barracks. Alassane, Hiantepe, Tekpo, they came there, they overpowered the guards at the entrance. It was drizzling, they made them to lie in the drizzling water and overpowered them, took their guns. And because some of the soldiers who were inside knew where the guns were being kept, really, when they broke into this thing, my friends Nemo and Kwapom, they showed them where the guns were. So they took a lot of guns from Fodije Ganum for continuing the operation. So then they opened up your prison? Yes. And you walked out? First, when they opened, one of the 3 who had come from Ashaford or Jamesford said that they were releasing only soldiers, and that the civilians should stay. And Corporal Nimo, the late Corporal Nimo, who I'm sure you read a lot about when you read my story, said that in this garoon, there was no difference between civilians and soldiers. In fact, that would have been very dangerous for someone like me, because the regime saw me in the same category as the soldiers. I see. So if I was left there, you'd have been dealt with. You don't know what will happen. I would have been a ghost by now. So Nemo knew that, and so he insisted that civilians should also be released in our guard room. So they asked us that we could go, and immediately they said that I started running faster than anybody because I needed my freedom. At one stage, somebody said, oh, the old man couldn't walk. I said, hey, we are here for different purposes. Everyone for himself, God for us all. So, Otilo, I'm off.
Okay, so that's what happened, and you left the place.
I was running, yes.
Yes. Where did you go from there?
Oh, coincidentally, by the time I got to the area around the firing squad, Corporal Nemo had hijacked.
This is Teshi.
Yeah, around Teshi. Corporal Nemo, who was in the same guard with me, had hijacked a car. And he said that after I started running, the first thing, you see, we built a very close friendship there. I used to give them political education. Yeah, we were allowed to read books. So I got some revolutionary literature for these soldiers to be reading. So they looked up to me in a certain way. So he said the first task he gave himself was to get a car and take me to wherever he could take me to freedom before he go and join the forces in the around broadcasting and other places.
I see. Now, let me understand this. When there was a broadcast of a sort that this is what was happening, they did promote, they did help, they did facilitate the action?
It facilitated the action because it is because of the broadcast that the soldier was running like a coward.
I see.
You see, I talk about a soldier who was running like a coward when I was also running. Because it had been announced on the air that the government had been overthrown and the rebels had taken over, they were very much afraid. So
who announced it?
Carlos Halidu Jiwa, Kofi Jiwa.
Okay.
He announced it.
I see. And he did not survive it actually.
Oh, he survived it. He came back in 23rd March 1984. That's when he was killed. He wasn't killed during the June 19th.
Okay,
he survived the June 19th. Yes. But he made another incursion into the country during our exile days. And that was when he was arrested. So it wasn't June 19th that he went into exile in Abidjan. He was in Abidjan, and it was from Abidjan that he came with another group, including one of the people who came to release us on June 19th, Malik, Sergeant Malik. He also came on the 23rd, and including a former member of the AFRC, Sarkodie Eado. They were all arrested, I think 23rd March 1984.
It's interesting how this all comes together. Were there people who died in the attempt to break jail, people you knew?
Oh, in the attempt to break jail. In the process of the jailbreak, the head of state announced that any of us who was seen should be shot on sight.
I see.
Yes, without question. I was hearing the announcement every day in my hideout. And a number of people, including friends of mine, were caught and shot that way. Yes, there was Sergeant Agoha, Jack Bebley, and co. That was their job, to be looking for us to shoot us. And one guy from my own hometown, Asamoah, leading aircraft from Asamoah, who is even my in-law. He was looking for me to shoot me.
I see. That's interesting to note. But let me get also this part clear. You were able to escape to the Volta region, finally.
I escaped and got to the Volta region on the 20th of June. Yes.
There are several spots and checks. There are several curfew points. How were you able to manage all of these?
First of all, I was reciting Psalm 23 throughout. I was a kind of atheist before I was arrested. But in prison, I joined the prayer group.
I see.
And started learning the Psalms and all that. So on the June 19, June 19, Psalm 23, those days I could recite it like water.
Okay.
So I was reciting Psalm 23 throughout. First, when I got from Kimbu, there was, the Lord Park was there, Kimbu. I took a vehicle which was going to Pong. I got to Teshin. I got to Teshin. Oh, there was a roadblock there. And there's no way I could pass that roadblock because the soldiers from the field engineers Garoon, where I was detained, were the ones at the roadblock. And they will obviously identify me as a person who had escaped from this. Once there was an announcement that this boy should be shot on sight, they would have just shot me.
I see.
So I paid the driver's mates the full amount for Pong. Then I got down quietly. After I got down, I jumped into the bush and started running as fast as I could do. And I don't know whether anybody followed me, but I was just running for my life. And even when you're running for your life, you can break the world record.
I see. So we finally got to the voter region. Were you still being sought after even when you got to the voter region?
Oh, but the announcement was being made every day that people should be. I was in the hideout when I heard that my friend Kwame Ejima had been picked in PJ and killed. I continued to hear. So they were looking for us all the time.
The people reach out to you. What happened to those who reached out to you as your friends and family?
Oh, when I escaped into Togo, I didn't know that they were monitoring me every day. So somebody visited me. Tata Fosu, he visited me. When he visited me, liars went and told lies that they saw us packing arms into a vehicle. So by the time Tata got back to Lolobi, his hometown, armed soldiers were in his house waiting for him. They stripped the people in the house naked, stripping naked, looking for arms, tearing things, and they didn't find any arms. They blindfolded him, took him in the armor car, sent him to Accra. They were sending him to the execution, brought him out, put him down, fired the guns into the air. Actually, he thought he was right, so he collapsed.
I see.
By the time he got out, the time he recovered, I will not say this on public TV. Things were bad.
I get you. Let me get this point. Have you met Chama Rollins since then?
Chama Rollins, he has never been my friend.
Have you met him since then?
I don't need to meet him because he was not my friend in the past. As I said, it is my involvement in the movement.
Yes, I get your point, but I want to know whether...
I came to the council, I came to be involved through Chris Akim.
At some point in time, you should be able to say that, okay, we've forgiven each other.
Even those days, I didn't meet him. So I didn't meet him even when I was a regional coordinator.
Okay.
So he was not my friend.
So there's nothing to forgive?
No, it's not about forgiveness. The fact that I chose a path in life to be a revolutionary.
Yeah.
And these are the repercussions. This is the price I pay for being a revolutionary.
Do you regret it?
No.
Really?
No.
You almost died on several occasions.
I almost died. Oh, several occasions, yes. Even I remember when Molly Dragoka, my schoolmate, my classmate, I won't talk about the other part. My classmate, he used to go after Makofi's daughter. I know some people listening to this will know what I'm saying, I will not say. And he told me that we should visit Ghana to just go and take stock. And by the time I left for scholarship to study in Czechoslovakia.
And is that where you stayed for almost 3 decades?
Oh, I studied in Czechoslovakia for 5 years.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I was in UK.
Okay. So that's where you were for almost 3 decades?
Yes, UK.
I see.
That's where I was. And as you've been following me on Facebook, you see that I built a lot of friends with Jeremy Corbyn, Tony Benn, all those people. I met a lot of people.
I get your point. So all of these happened, and have you had closure? Do you believe that you still deserve some form of compensation?
Oh. If we want to go into reparations, Africa as a whole even deserves reparations.
But I'm talking about you and the happenings to you.
Oh, happens to me.
Yes.
One of the things I'll mention is that, you see, when I was studying in Czechoslovakia, in Eastern Europe, all the people who came on scholarships, IUS and other scholarships, they were all giving government stipend.
Yeah.
Dollars. Immediately I started studying, all those who came on IUF and other scholarships, similar to my scholarship, in the countries under the Czech embassy, had their stipend not paid. Meanwhile, in Bulgaria and USSR, people on the same type of scholarships were being paid that stipend.
The question I'm asking is about government of Ghana recognizing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. For example, they refused to pay me stipend which other people were taking. And they didn't refuse to pay me alone. They refused to pay all other people who were studying in the same country as me. Meanwhile, people in other countries were being paid. So people even suffered alongside me just for being in the country I was.
Should you be paid reparation for the harm and other you suffered?
Should I be paid reparations? That depends on what society decides.
I see. Society tried with the National Reconciliation Commission. Did you appear before it?
I didn't appear before the National Reconciliation Commission.
Why?
I didn't feel, you see, I didn't feel safe.
Safe?
Yes, I didn't feel safe. Because I'm not just against a particular person. I'm a person fighting for a change of system.
I see.
You get it?
Yeah, I get you.
You were telling me of your own orientation, so I'm sure you understand what I mean.
I get your point. I have to wrap up this conversation, but you've not abandoned politics entirely. That's the surprising part.
I cannot abandon politics. I've made it clear throughout that it's a choice I made in my life.
Okay,
and
so
I don't even regret the things I've gone through. I don't feel any bitterness about the things things I've gone through has armed me to be stronger. But
you are not the ideologue. You are one of those people who are saying that we can still work. And you are the co-chairman of the CPP-PPP Alliance in the, what they call your constituency.
In Southern, yes.
The only part of the country doing this.
The only one of the 275 constituencies which has been able to bring the pro-Nkrumah parties together and that they will not contest elections against one another. I'm surprised that it's not even news.
We sure we have to explore that in a very huge platform sometime later on. But for now, I thank you so much.
I look forward for exploring that because this news, I was giving you the detailed breakdown of the election results.
I'll get all of that, but my time is up. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us on today's edition of UPfront. It's been a wonderful time.